Okay, well, let's jump right into it, shall we? This is not a long teaser, but I do appreciate that. Hopefully the main trailer, when it arrives, will follow suit and not bleed out all of the plot details for the Alien Earth TV series, which will be arriving on Earth in the summer. By the way, if you haven't checked out my other Alien videos discussing everything vital, I'll briefly state that Noah Hawley is the writer, director and showrunner here, which has given me a lot of faith leading up to the show, as he was responsible for the Fargo series. Fargo had a wonderful simplicity about it, but I also found a very compelling story in what he created there. So, as a dedicated Alien fan whose faith has been tested on many occasions, I'm sure I speak for most of you when I say, fingers fucking crossed for this one, right? It's now or never. I really feel that Disney needs to hit a home run with Alien Earth and present a well thought out, cohesive and mature story with genuinely engaging characters, please. The majority of this teaser is essentially from the POV of what can only be a facehugger. It appears to be stored within a glass-walled container, but I wonder if there is now an empty egg inside, and this little troublemaker wasn't supposed to hatch while in transit. We can see some form of secretion at the top corner, unless these are acid burns in an attempt to escape its prison. I also love this intriguing silhouette on the left window here, as it distinctly reminds me of the Alien 3 poster back in the day, the one that presented a curled up xenomorph fetus, if you remember. It may just be a shadow of something irrelevant, but I believe there are more specimens on board. There's a lot of fast, frantic limb movement, but it's the flapping that concerns me. There is no way I'm going to cast any kind of shade on this series from just a teaser, and as I've said before, I am incredibly hopeful for this episodic addition to the Alien universe. But why does this facehugger now have wings? Since when do they fly? You know, with every new film or computer game, whatever it is, they've always tried to change or, in inverted commas, improve on the beast, right? Perhaps it can be best described as the filmmaker simply adding his stamp to the franchise. However, common sense surely dictates that if the writing is powerful enough, then the original creature is sufficient, and will undoubtedly bring forth the intended scares. But hey, if the series is good, then who cares, I guess? They fly now, and this is actually quite disturbing. Their new abilities may be evidence to support Hawley's comments on exploring the evolutionary origin of this perfect species, instead of just trying to be different. Oh, and please share your thoughts in the comments, as I always try to respond to everyone. Some writing on the inside of the container can be made out briefly. It reads 2 or S800, which is probably unimportant, as I'm sure these are standard serial numbers for mass-produced containers. But then, well, hey, we're out. Mechanical failure, I guess, which is always handy when transporting live ones. Or maybe they cut the power. No, we won't be digging up and recycling old quotes in Alien Earth, thank you very much. Alien Romulus. But as we begin with the flight of the facehugger, possibly the most noticeable object in its path is a second specimen container, and one that appears considerably larger. At first glance, I assumed its occupant to be a fully grown xenomorph, sedated or in stasis, mainly because of the long dome shape facing down, which would have implied that a chest burst had already happened. It could have been securely placed inside before the adolescent had time to grow into its complete form. However, I've stared and stared at it and have concluded that this object has to be an ovomorph, an alien egg, suspended or floating in a preserving fluid. This does beg some essential questions regarding several key things I've discussed before. What moon did this Weyland-Yutani vessel find the specimens on, as this critical piece of information was stated in an earlier teaser? The destination of the recovery would be important to the franchise overall. It may help us understand events surrounding the Zeta II Reticuli system, as 2 particular moons in this binary system have been a real focus in the films. Other questions include how Noah Hawley approaches the life cycle of the xenomorph in the show. He spoke in an earlier interview about fleshing out and incorporating a natural evolution process to the species. But does that mean he'll disregard components of the newly found canon involving the engineers and David? Will the egg morphin that was cut from the original Alien film make an appearance, or is he a big James Cameron fan, meaning we might see a queen once more, and an egg-laying sac or ovipositor is how the eggs are produced? Well, probably not the latter, because Ridley Scott is still a producer on the show and he doesn't like queens, does he? The use of Jonathan Elias's music score from the early Alien trailers was a given, considering it was used in the previous teaser and some of the promotions for Romulus and Ridley's prequels, with its almost demonic-like siren call creating a haunting symphony of unease, whispering cosmic dread into the soul. It still remains one of the most chilling scores ever used in marketing for a horror movie. Just please give it a little rest from here on out. We don't want to milk the udder completely dry by overusing it, do we? Additionally, a few noises, cries if you will, could be heard emanating most likely from the facehugger. I may be wrong on this, but I don't believe they were ever audible in any of the films other than the tapping of their fingers on surfaces and the fast whip effect from their tails. If memory serves, the small but unsettling cries heard in the teaser are typically reserved exclusively for the chestburster, amplifying its grotesque birth with a hauntingly human touch that makes the terror all the more visceral. I'd say there lies a deceased crew member on the floor, but it's pretty blurry as we begin to turn. I don't think at this stage that any of the specimens have had time to escape and kill the crew, but rather something catastrophic has occurred, rendering the ship unsalvageable at this point as it starts to enter Earth's atmosphere in an unstoppable collision course. Also note that the ship's automated speaker system only broadcasts the containment breach message after our friend here has been set free. Now, bearing in mind that a significant part of the show's premise and plot will revolve around the corporate rivalry between Earth's top players, one of which being the infamous Weyland-Yutani, otherwise referred to as the Company, and another named Prodigy with equally insidious ambitions surrounding AI and consciousness, or so we have been told. This makes me wonder if we are right now witnessing an act of sabotage against Weyland-Yutani, causing the vessel to fatally descend. Otherwise, it all seems too convenient that the craft only loses control once it arrives at Earth because, as we all know, stowing aliens on board is always bad luck in this franchise. If this is the reason for the crash, then the implications of this act of corporate sabotage and potential warfare among the rich and powerful could suggest a decent amount of drama and suspense every week, keeping us on the edge of our seats even without the added threat of the xenomorph. Oh, and trust me, if you haven't watched Fargo, then you could be in for a treat if Hawley carries over his A-game into Alien. It is nice that all of these retro future designs from the original film are returning to fashion. It was very prominent in Romulus, and I'm glad to see it incorporated into the TV show. I doubt that all of Earth will look like this, of course, but when needed, it does give that practical functionality aesthetic to things that require it. And I often wonder what percentage of fans prefer this as opposed to the design style shown in other films like Aliens and Prometheus, etc. Well, that's a confirmed corpse right there, and most likely due to environmental hazards, I would say. It's kind of embarrassing, I suppose. You finally get to be in an Alien production, and when you study your role in the script, it just says cause of death from falling. Yikes. I will say that I've tried to desperately look out for clues or Easter eggs, but Noah Hawley appears to be less of a tease than Fede Alvarez when it comes to promoting their Alien entries. However, I am enjoying the visual trip once more down memory lane with the perfect replication of those haunting corridors on full display. It evokes that powerful nostalgic feeling in much the same way you feel when you see those iconic white Imperial Star Wars interior designs. Only here we have the unforgettable padded walls like something straight out of a lunatic asylum, which is probably where I'll be headed if this show turns out to be another blasted Alien disappointment. Not that I was furious with Romulus and Covenant, as I experienced some enjoyment with those films, but I honestly felt like we could have had better in a few different departments, do you agree? It's funny, even with no humans around, these fucking things, they seek out airlocks, don't they? They either hibernate right next to one or forget they have acid for blood when standing beside an exterior window. So to all of you who have screamed and shouted your grievances over the years for a change of this predictable formula that takes place in every Alien movie, well, okay, I've complained about it too. It's not entirely down to lazy writing, I'll have you know. Honestly, with the way this little fella is behaving, you'd think it craves the vacuum of space. And there could be some logic to that, as I did do a theory video on the xenomorph's ability to perform cryptobiosis in space to preserve themselves in a state of hibernation. It's strange, now that we've detached from the POV and can see more of this critter, it actually doesn't look much like a facehugger at all. It resembles an insect more closely than anything else, especially with its large abdomen visible in this shot. In some ways it reminds me of a giant wasp, unless it's been intentionally obscured for the teaser. Otherwise the crew went buck hunting during their recreational hours, who knows. And here's the money shot, people. Earth is receiving a lovely gift this summer, and within its life-nurturing, pressurised atmosphere, everybody will hear you scream. And lastly, I like how this ship closely resembles the Nostromo from 1979's Alien. It really is just another reminder that it will take place just 2 years before the events of that film. Interestingly, this means that Dallas and his crew will soon be headed out to Thetis, if they haven't left already, to perform their cargo run, ending with a detour to Zeta 2 Reticuli star system in that fateful encounter on LV-426. In conclusion, I thought this was a great teaser. It was punchy, did well to set the vibe of the show, and in the simplest way possible laid out the story's premise for all to see and understand. I mean, it's even called Alien Earth, isn't it? So what more do you want in a teaser? Hopefully we'll receive a full trailer in the next month or so. That'll be a big day for sure. So thanks for watching, friends. This is Entertain the Dude, signing off.